What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So we're going to get right into it today. We're going to go ahead and get the intake manifold installed, our exhaust headers, our turbo kit, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up on the GoPro, and let's get started. We are quickly moving along. We got the intake manifold all torqued down. We got our fuel lines, our crossover lines just snug on there for right now. We got our boost reference here that goes to the back of the manifold. Let's see, we got one to the top of the gate for the dome pressure here, or just for dome pressure sensor, I should say. And then this one will go off to the blow-off valve. We got our wiring hooked up for the throttle body, and our main fuel lines ran. Had to kind of reroute a little thing, or a couple things like this, the turbo feed, and I put a different degree fitting on our catch can because it was kind of getting in the way, but now it's nice and loose, which is good. So next thing we'll move on to, just got these. I'm going to tighten these up real quick for the intercooler. Like I said, this is all tightened up right now, but next thing we're going to do is actually get to our exhaust right here. So I need to clearance the headers for the plugs. See if I can find my markings. So right here, it's just barely touching on each and every one. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of material off right where I kind of marked it. Won't really affect anything, which is good. And then the same thing for the other side. I'll just take a little bit of material off. That way the plug wires don't come into contact with the headers. So got the plug wires all finished. They are hooked up. Got them Loctited down so they aren't going nowhere. And yeah, so we're cruising along. We'll go ahead and get everything shaped up on the headers. Then we'll go ahead and put our gaskets on, our hardware, put the hot side back together, install the turbo, and yeah, everything should be finalized after that. Just like that, we got our intercooler all set up. We got our intake manifold all torqued down. We have all of our fuel lines. They are just loose, like I mentioned earlier. That way we can get our injectors and slap those guys in. Got all of our plug wires made, and right now they're just sitting on the plugs. They're not down just yet, because when we go to crank this thing over to build some oil pressure, I will pull out the spark plugs. That way there's no load on the cylinder, and they can kind of just, I guess, free rev. That way we can make some oil pressure and make sure that we have oil pressure before we try to start it. But we got the turbo back on, all done. Gaskets on, our turbo feed is done. Got our wideband in there. Headers are all on officially. We got all of our, even our crankcase, our breather lines are on. Intake manifold, like I said, we got our wiring, fuel lines, all of our boost control stuff. And I kind of went back on all of them and put a piece of heat shrink on all of the Earls, this fire guard, this fire sleeve stuff. Put a little piece of heat shrink on there because it likes to unravel like that guy right there. But yeah, I think it came out pretty good. Looks pretty clean. And yeah, off to the next step. All of, can't even see them. Coils are down there. Again, you can see where we cut out or, you know, made little areas. That way the plug wires are not touching, because before they were touching right where this little cutout is on all 4 of them. So all those are done. We got our starter wire tight. Alternator wire is tight down there as well. So all we need is a belt, some coolant, or some water I should say, injectors, and we can start trying to fire this thing up. Give you guys a quick update on the wiring process. We have all of our inputs and outputs ran up to where the Dominator is going to sit. So all the inputs and outputs are done. Let's see, we got our main power wire. We have our main harness we still have to button up. I need 12 volt and ground for these 2 guys. And I need this red wire to go to the ignition. I got 2 more outputs for our rife sensor. And yeah, all that mess over there is basically the headlights, trans brake, 12 volt ignition and 12 volt battery source. That's really about it. We got a line lock to do. We got our transmission harness all done. So shifter harness right here. This is going to be 4 wires. We got 2 neutral safeties and 2 for the reverse, which will activate trans brake and reverse lights at the same time. That's what this tan wire is for. But yeah, so actually, I didn't even show you guys. I went ahead and got our transmission harness all done. So this has all of our rife sensor stuff here. All 6 wires are here. On the back side, we have 2 power wires, 1 for the dump valve, 1 for the trans brake, a ground, and then a dump valve ECU input back to the Holly. So that's what this harness is for, and I keep it kind of just loose like this for right now until I'm completely done wiring the car. And what we'll do is we'll just we'll put some Alex Tech, we'll put some sleeve over it, make it look all nice, but the board hasn't changed. And like I said, all of our inputs and outputs we got to make for our J2 and J2A and J2B harness is right there. And then we have the steering wheel stuff left, but other than that, it's headlights and easy stuff. So we're really coming along. We're getting very close, and I'm getting pretty anxious to hear this thing make some noise finally. So like I said, we got a few things we need to get. Really, we just need injectors, finish the wiring harness, put a battery in it, and start testing some things out. I do have to do a pinout on the ECU software to tell everything what is plugged into those connectors. So I'll have one for fuel level sensor, we'll have our rife sensor stuff, we'll have our dump valve stuff, our trans brake, whole bunch of stuff like that. So good thing we definitely got the Dominator ECU, so we have a lot of inputs and outputs to play with, and a ton of room to expand. So definitely glad we went that route. It's gonna wrap up today's video, you guys, so thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing. Go ahead and drop us a comment down below. How do you think the car is coming out so far? And let us know if you're as excited as we are to hear this thing finally run. So thanks again. We'll see you next time.